Welcome to the GameDev.tv Community Podcast. I'm your host KB, and I would like to introduce you to industry professionals and people who successfully made their path to the video game industry. I hope that you will enjoy the podcast and get useful tips that will bring you closer to achieving your dreams. Now, let's get right into the podcast. Welcome to the GameDev.tv podcast. I'm KB from LA. Ricardo.
Yeah, I'm joining from Warsaw today.
Nice to
And
meet
then
you.
Phil.
Thanks for the invitation.
Of course. So let's let the fans, the GameDev.tv students, know a little bit about who you are and then go from there.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Phil Gosch. I'm from Graz, which is the second biggest city in Austria in Central Europe. And I'm a technical artist and a rendering engineer. I'm currently working at ReactiveReality, where we are working on highly scalable and trying to automate content creation in 2D and 3D.
Okay.
And in my free time, I'm working on my own game projects and game development stuff, of course.
Ooh, are you able to talk about that stuff later on?
Yeah, I hope so.
Awesome, cool. Let's get into it. So let's start off with the beginning. What was your childhood like with games? What was your first game memory?
My first game memory. So that's a good question, actually. I think the very first memory I have of gaming and playing games myself was on the Game Boy.
Oh, same.
A Mario game.
Mm-hmm. Oh, mine
I
was
think
a
it
Donkey
was
Kong
Mario
one.
Land back then.
Mario Land? They had that on the Game Boy. What was it like? Was it like the Super Mario's on 64?
No, it was like, I think it was the second installment they had. It was on Game Boy Pocket, so not on the original, but the smaller version that was just released, and it was one of the games that came in a bundle with that one. And this was the first console. Actually, it's a handheld, of course, but it was the first gaming
One of, like, the first
device
powerful one. Yeah.
me and my brother owned. Yes.
Awesome.
The first real console was the Nintendo 64, since you just mentioned it.
Yes.
I'm just in love with the Nintendo 64.
Super Smash Bros, Zelda. What other games did you have? Yeah.
Yeah, Banjo-Kazooie.
Oh, there you go.
All that stuff. Yeah. I still played regularly with my girlfriend. Mario Kart and all that stuff.
It's just good memories, nostalgia. And sometimes some of those games just hold up against time, because most games nowadays are like, what happened to you guys? It used to be really good.
Yeah.
But yeah. So after that, like, when did you start getting into game development? Was it in high school? Was it in college? Like, when were you like, I want to do games for a living?
Yeah. So the first time I got into that was when I was in high school. I think I was 15 years old, and I had a course about programming, and it started off with HTML, which can hardly be called programming, but it's a good start in the field. So it's not very overwhelming for some students in the school with 15 years. And then we got into a bit of Visual Basic and then C++. And C++ somehow clicked with me, and I really liked it.
Really?
And
okay.
I found a course or a PDF in the internet on how to create a simple game in C++. And I worked through that, and I decided I want to create games. I love playing games, and I also want to create them. And this was basically the starting point for me. Also, it was pretty far away from that point that I was saying to myself, I want to earn money by doing games, and this is what I want to do with my life. I think it came with time, but it came.
So while you were 15 years old and you were learning all that stuff, when did you start doing C++? Was that 15, 16, 17, or?
Yes, it was in that age bracket.
Okay. And then when you say it clicked, how would you describe it? Like, you just like watch a thing, you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense, and then you just like type away, or it was just easier for you to like grasp when you're studying? Like, what do you mean by that?
I don't think it was easy. It's not that much of an easy language to grasp, and I think it was just the general principle of programming. It was something, the logic behind it. If it doesn't work, it is your fault. The computer only does exactly what you tell it. And I like that, because I was into, science stuff and technical stuff, and all of this stuff somehow resonated with me. And I think our informatics teacher, or our IT guy at the school, he was pretty talented in, not only telling you the hard facts, but also giving you a bit of his enthusiasm for this topic. That's very important.
That really is, honestly.
Yeah, this
because I have
basically was the start.
Programming teacher who kind of is the same way. He very enthusiastic about it. He teaches you like everything you need to know, and then he talks about like his experience with it, and you're just like, yes, keep going. And like, we even made a joke one time where we're like, hey man, you're like an artist, because he has these notes that he does for the program, and it's pretty awful, but like he knows it. But we're like, ha, you're an artist, bro, you got this. And then he went on to this like deep explanation of what an artist really is, and then at the end of it we're like, okay, yeah, I guess you're not an artist. And then, but like he makes you like intrigued about like everything you're doing. About the artist, about this programming, about all this stuff, and it's a 3-hour lecture, and everybody's like, we'll stay for 4 hours if you need, because sometimes he goes late. We're like, we're here all day, every day. Then I have another class with a programming teacher who just reads from the slides, and it's like nobody wants to be there. Once the thing ends, it's like we're done with it. So yeah, you got to find someone who like teaches you programming and teaches you the like, excitement about programming, why we're doing it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're just like, it's cool, I'll make my games on my own time, and then you don't really get the feedback and stuff.
Yeah, I think it happens a lot with math as well. Like people tend to think math is boring because
definitely, yeah,
you're young, it's just some numbers, and if you don't get someone like bringing some enthusiasm or bringing examples, especially like real life examples, the worst thing is like they're just teaching you some theory and that's it. Like that I could get from a book. I could literally just read Wikipedia and I would have that.
Yeah. So at exactly around that age, we had a math teacher at that school, and he was really great, and he made us like math, which is I think the hardest feat to do with a bunch of 15-year-olds.
Yeah.
And then for 1 year we got a replacement teacher.
No.
And then the other one came back, and in that year you could see how the grades of the other students, or of a lot of students, dropped, and they started to dislike maths. And the point the other teacher came back, they liked it again. Also, the subject was pretty much the same. Of course, it's about different topics and stuff, but in general, it's a lot of how the topic is perceived. And
that must have been a
which teacher
great,
you've got.
Yeah, it must have been like a great like event, because I know what it's like being like school when like everybody's like the teacher's back and everybody's like, woo!
Yeah, we can do math again.
Oh my goodness, that's great. So how often would you say you studied programming around like 15, 16? Was it a lot? Was it just like self-studying a lot of it?
It was. So we had in school, we only had some basic lecture. So just we got to know some syntax, and we created a simple application, and then we went on to the next topic, which was, I don't remember anymore, but it was not programming related. It was something entirely different from the field of information technology. And so, but I kept with it mostly because I found that tutorial or book on how to create your first C++ game. And I worked through that in my free time. And funnily enough, during this project, I discovered my love for 3D modeling and 3D art creation.
Yes.
And then I think the next few years, I nearly didn't touch any code, but I was just modeling and texturing and rigging. And it started because for that project, there was the point in the book where I needed assets, some graphic assets to display. And of course, then I just started Googling software to create 3D asset. So really, a very naive way of trying to get some stuff for my game. Yeah. So it looks pretty. And then I discovered 3D Studio Max, and then I discovered the price tag, and that put me off big time.
It's a little pricey.
Yeah.
And then there's Blender.
You name it. So this was the next step. I discovered Blender, and then I think I worked through 2 or 3 tutorials, and I really fell in love with it. And then I spent most of my free time doing 3D modeling, animation, rigging, texturing, and whatever comes with it. And I spent the next few years more of a 3D artist, and only got back into programming back when I started university. So this was like a round trip.
Yes, you were
through the whole pipeline.
Exactly.
Except sound. I'm no sound guy. I admit that.
No sound, yeah. I don't get that many sound people on here. It's like a little niche. It's like somebody random and nowhere's like, yo, I do all the sounds. Like, coolest guy in the room, because no one else really seems to do it. But awesome. So what did you? Yeah.
Which everybody wants to be in a team with at game jams.
Exactly.
Yeah, but like I found an easier way. So when I was making games, I got to a point where I needed some assets and some models. And then you can just make a cube and pretend, right?
Yeah,
that kind of works.
That's easier, but it sounds fun.
I guess nowadays it's also easier because there is stuff like Sketchfab and CG Trader and similar. You can get a lot of good pre-made models for free, or even the Unity and Unreal Asset Store, of course. Okay, but back then, all the cubes all the way.
I remember trying to make a manhole with a ladder. Like it took me like 3-4 hours.
Yeah.
Making holes is hard.
Really? What were you doing? I guess you could get.
I had zero experience. Okay, I was literally just trying to follow doing what no one should ever do. Is trying to do something way above what I knew, just by following the tutorial. It doesn't work.
I mean, sometimes it works out. You could be like, hey, I want to make a bridge, and then you end up making something more complex, and it works out kind of.
Yeah.
But it's about pushing yourself, I guess. So what were some things you made when you started out? Did you make like simple stuff, characters, environment stuff? What was the things you were making?
Yeah, so very simple stuff. So I started off with doing a lot of tutorials. So tutorials were the way to go for me. I think for probably the first year I was using Blender. But really a lot of tutorials, because I'm the kind of guy who, when I was young and I got a video game or a Nintendo 64 game from my mom, I would read the manual back to front and only then start playing it.
So, no, you didn't.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, that's beyond even me. Come on.
That's God mode. Okay, wait a minute. Did you ever get this?
When I got
still do it? That's awesome.
No.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
Excitement got too big, and
you're
just
like,
needed to play. I could wait.
Honestly, most games don't have manuals anymore, and if they do, it's like online.
Yeah, I recently
say the same thing.
Sorry.
Yeah,
pretty much.
All of them kind of say the same thing. I
recently bought a Switch game, and it was just the empty. The stuff was empty. There was nothing in it.
You're probably a little
except
sad.
Except a download code. That's it.
Oh, that's it?
What a waste of
time. It's literally the same thing with this Fortnite thing. It was just for the code. I'm like, why couldn't I just buy this online?
Yeah.
But now it's online.
As a card, it doesn't need a box.
Yeah.
A waste of plastic. The environment.
Game industry's like, screw the environment. So
back to tutorials.
Yeah, tutorials. How do you maintain the knowledge in the tutorials? Because I know, or how did you get the most out of the tutorials?
So I really tried at first to get hold of tutorials from lots or covering lots of different areas of Blender in this case. So there's like the modeling, then there is animation and stuff like that. And if I remember correctly, I didn't have very good internet at home back then. So I remember a few times I went to a shop or for a coffee in a cafe, and I used the public Wi-Fi with my laptop. And all the text tutorials I found for free on the net, I copied them into one big Word document. And then I went back home and I worked through all the tutorials in the Word document, which had messed up formatting and missing images and whatever you can imagine to go wrong.
And you were like, I got this.
Yes.
I'll figure it out. That's dedication right there.
And I did a lot of tutorials until I had the feeling I know my way around the different areas of the software, at least a bit. And then I started my own project. And as soon as I hit some kind of roadblock, I started looking up, searched for tutorials which covered that areas I needed to know. And that's basically how I built the knowledge until I felt very confident to do my own stuff.
So that's awesome. So it's basically like there's a phase where you learn all the tools, basically like the fundamentals. Then once you feel comfortable, you start building your own things, and then you try to go more advanced. Then you start looking for advanced tutorials to help you fill in the like empty spots in your knowledge where you need to then be able to create like something advanced.
Exactly.
I think that people get like lost in they get stuck in the fundamental phase. I do that too, and I'm now understanding that like it's time to just go and like do things. But yeah, so you get stuck in this phase of like constantly doing tutorials, constantly being like, I don't feel 100% ready. I need another tutorial, and then you kind of like rewatch the same tutorial from different people, or you kind of think you're gonna do something else. Like, oh, maybe I don't got it right now. Let me go do something else like Godot or Unreal or Unity, not Blender. Then we come back to Blender, and then you kind of forgot what you learned at the beginning, so you do the course again, and then you're like, all right, let me take another break, and you do the Unreal stuff or whatever, and you forgot what that was, and you're in this cycle of like, so what?
Tutorial limbo.
Yeah, like tutorial is hell.
That's a nice word.
So what advice would you give for some people so they can feel more confident or comfortable to break free from this, I'm not sure I'm ready to make my own project, or because I feel like, at least in my experience, it's kind of like you're justifying certain things, so you stay in this little purgatory.
Yeah, that's a big thing I've noticed with a few people. So I was also teaching a lot and doing workshops and stuff. And one or two of the students, usually they're the ones that stay stuck in this tutorial loop. They go from tutorial to tutorial, and they're at the point where they can do their own stuff because they display the amount of knowledge necessary, but they don't feel confident enough. And I think it's not easy to break out, but usually that point is reached if you're working through new tutorials and you can anticipate the steps the teacher is taking, or whatever is happening, because you already have the knowledge of most of the features or the workflows or processes which you usually go through when creating the stuff from the tutorial, because you know the result beforehand, otherwise you wouldn't have clicked the tutorial.
Exactly. Yeah, that's true.
And that's one of the I don't know how to say, the indicators or flags which should tell you it's time to move on to own stuff and try to take the next step.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think it also can be related to people's that people tend to always try to do their biggest project as soon as they can, and because if you lack confidence and you go and just like clone a level of Mario, you don't care that you don't have confidence, like you're doing it to study. Like, but if you think you're doing your big project, you want to feel ready.
Yeah.
So I think one of the things is people don't do the intermediate games they need to develop the skills to make their actual big break.
So you're saying basically they should just continue to do smaller, beginner games to feel more comfortable, and then break into their intermediate project that's going to be their big game.
Yeah, it's after a few tutorials. Yeah. Like you can do 1-2 tutorials to like learn how to work in the editor or work inside Unreal or whatever. So it works for anything. Anything, literally anything. This is a good first step.
Heard that. What were you saying, Phil?
So ironically, today or nowadays, if I want to learn a new framework, a technique or stuff like that, I usually choose the approach of immediately trying to do the stuff I want or need to do, and only look up what I need to do for that, and disregard all the big stuff around it, and only if I hit the roadblock, start looking into it or reading documentation. So this is like the break fast, fail fast, succeed fast approach.
Genius.
That's mostly because I don't have the time to read the whole manual from back to front anymore, basically.
That's unfortunate.
I know, right? But no, that's genius. It's like common sense, but yet it's not. So, or at least, I guess for me it was. I don't know. Because I did it one time. So like I did this Brooklyn Bridge in Blender. And I was like, I'm going to do it and then go to tutorials. And I ended up doing way better than usual. And then, like, for instance, I'm trying to create something on Unreal, and I was like, let me do the whole tutorial first and then build off of it. And then it didn't work out. So Something I was gonna say. Dang. But anyways, so yeah, so the idea of taking these tutorials, how would you get the most, I would say, out of like one video? Would you take notes? Would you like try to do a video afterwards, like teaching someone? Would you like how would you know like, hey, I solidified this knowledge. I actually know it. I don't fake
Yeah.
know it. You know how people sometimes get a tutorial like, oh, I know this. And then you ask them later and they're like, I don't know it.
So one thing which is probably extremely obvious is to really work through that tutorial and do everything alongside it while watching or reading it. But the thing why I mention it is because I have read through a lot of tutorials, like in my lunch break, and never actually worked through them. I just read them or watched the whole video, and you don't really process all of the knowledge. You don't really learn most of the stuff that is taught.
Wait,
You
do you
really
think
have
it's a
to.
waste of time, or it's
No,
still
I
at
don't
least
think it's a
putting
waste of
stuff in your?
time.
Yeah, okay.
But if you're trying to maximize the output of in terms of skill gained, then working through it is the way to go. So there's this saying or this phrase which is like reading only you only keep 1/10 of the knowledge from doing, and you keep the most knowledge if you teach. So this is like the ultimate way to really strengthen your knowledge in an area. And I really noticed this myself because I went through the learning and then through the teaching phase when doing workshops or whatever.
Nice.
And there's even in programming the rubber ducking method to solve bugs, which is just by explaining it to somebody else the problem, and then you realize the solution yourself. And I think this is a bit related to the teaching part.
Yeah, I do have a rubber duck there.
Oh yeah.
Where is he?
I used to sit there. That's why in this chair here.
I have my link in the back there.
Just talk to him, be like, hey, do you understand this? Does that make sense?
Yeah, the important part about rubber ducking is if it starts replying, there's something wrong, okay?
Well, I sometimes use my cats for that, and they definitely do reply, but not very helpful.
Well, you never know. Maybe they're geniuses and just cannot express themselves.
True. Oh, later on, I gotta show you guys this cat I found with a hat. It's beautiful.
I need to see it.
Definitely. But so that's another thing too, like the talking through the problem can help out for like somebody who's maybe in the void, just like doing their own thing, no like university, no workshops. How could they build their own group of people to like conversate with or like teach or yeah, how would they find that community? I know there's also, we have the GameDev community, but how about somebody else who's just like, you know, I don't know what I'm doing. What would you tell them?
Yeah, perfect point to plug the GameDev community.
Yeah.
Yeah, the internet nowadays has made it incredibly easier to do that.
Yeah.
Because back when I started, I somehow, by having common friends, discovered one other guy in my town who was doing Blender stuff. And this really helped me because I just met with him and we just wanted to go for a coffee, and then we like spent 5 or 6 hours just talking about Blender and
that's
being
awesome.
like little boys, did you see that artwork and did you see that tutorial and that new feature is in development and whatever.
Wow.
And this was really great. And from that point on, when new features were added or we learned something ourselves, we taught it to the other, and this really accelerated both of our learning process. And we thought, if we two already profit from just regular exchange that much, maybe others profit from that too. And then we founded the Blender user group in our town. And we put a homepage up and the usual stuff. And suddenly a lot more Blender users found together. And then we had regular monthly meetups where we had talks from our members about their latest projects, or somebody was like presenting a new feature which was added to a recent Blender version or whatever. And this really helped. So building this local community, and later in a bigger way, I did the same with the game development when I was back in the programming and game development space, where I co-founded the Game Development Association in our town. And we are now hosting talks and supporting local game devs, connecting them. And we are also hosting the biggest game development conference there is in Austria.
Dang it. Oh my God. Okay.
This basically all has
yes, you did the make wow of like groups.
Yeah.
You were like, I'm not just going to make a small little community, but I'm going to make the biggest. Let's just go huge.
Yeah, just went from small to big.
Yeah, no, but that's great.
And of course, social media and the internet. This was the best.
Yeah. So now it's like, what, worldwide? Everyone from...
That's one thing. Like back in the day, if you wanted to do something, you needed to find like a random, assuming back in the days, like 15 years ago, it's like you had to find a forum, like an actual forum.
Exactly.
Do you guys remember forums?
Yeah, I was about to mention that they died pretty much. And I think that's very sad because I spent all of my first years in forums discussing with like-minded people and answering questions and asking questions. And this really jump-started my
I
growth in different areas.
Yeah, I use forums for my RuneScape clan. So,
oh, yeah, glad you are using forums.
Planning events. But like nowadays, there's like Facebook, Discord, Reddit. Do you need more? No, like there's a subreddit for everything. There's probably a Discord group.
I think it can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah. Same with Discord. If you get into one, like especially GameDev.tv, just like thousands of tabs, and I'm like, so what do I post in this one or this one? I'm getting 1,000 notifications. I'm overwhelmed. I'm not gonna go onto that Discord. It's kind of my thing too with Discord. I'm like,
yeah, Discord is overwhelming, but Reddit is weird. I really don't like Reddit. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I'm
have
no idea. Reddit either.
I use Facebook just because it's linked to like talking to family, following some channels on politics, food, especially
memes.
food.
Memes. Well, that's more like.
Yeah, I follow
Instagram's the best for
memes. Games as well. The good thing is it's centralized. Like Reddit, you have to go into each page. I assume.
That's true.
I don't actually use it.
No, I mean you have to follow it. It just depends. You have to follow the right people, otherwise you won't get the right stuff. But yeah,
exactly.
Twitter is worse. Twitter is just, I hate Twitter.
I was gonna say
everybody on Twitter does.
I'm not on Twitter. So
oh yeah,
I'm an outsider.
Yeah, Ricardo's an outsider. Yeah, it's probably best. Twitter's dangerous sometimes. So, so building communities. So basically, yeah. So it doesn't seem that difficult pretty much nowadays. It's just like go on the online, Facebook, or GameDev.tv forum, Reddit, Blender. There's a group there somewhere waiting for you to find it and then join it.
Yes.
And then they just want to learn Blender with you, share the work, help each other. I've seen it. Like I've seen C++ ones like the Cherno. You go or the Chili, Tomato, C++ tutorials.
Yeah.
You go into Discords and everybody's just helping each other, supporting each other, asking questions. But you really need that. Like I've learned, the more you help others with the same type of assignment, like let's say you've completed a task. Oh, let me show you how to do it. It solidifies the knowledge. Or they completed, you need help. They help you learn. Like this, you need that. You really do. You can't be in this void. And I'm saying this because of the disclaimer. That's me basically for the last like 3 years. Don't do it. It doesn't help. I've learned way more in the last couple months because I've pushed myself to be with groups, Unreal groups, be like-minded people, actually conversate about what we're learning. And so if you guys feel stuck, GameDev.tv fans, go out there and you're going to have to get out of your turtle shell and expand and meet other people who are also doing the same thing. Everybody's nervous about meeting new people, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Everybody's cool. Everybody's nice.
Yeah, and one important thing, game development is most of the time a group activity anyway. Like you need to meet people to make a game. So why not meet people who are also learning that can help you not only with like, I don't know, let's say you're a developer, they make your models. You could meet other developers that can help you with issues you have or questions you may have.
Yeah.
Also, we're making games. We're all gamers too at the heart. Like,
Yeah.
it's just we're all cool people, honestly.
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
always play as
True.
well. Like, meeting
You're not
new
gonna
friends who
someone's like,
play
you
video
video
games.
games and you work in the game industry. Ugh. No, you're not gonna find that.
No one's ever said that. Hopefully.
Yeah. In
In
fact,
the
all
past
I've
30
seen
years.
is we don't have enough time for games, which is probably a good thing. It's like I'm making games, and probably.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably
Yeah.
like 2 hours a
So
day.
let's get to your college years and beyond. So near the end of so in college, did you decide, hey, I want to be technical artist, or you were just go back
No.
to programming?
So college basically brought back my lost love for programming
Yes.
because I was doing the 3D stuff all the time, and because of my in the meanwhile it was pretty extensive 3D modeling, 3D art knowledge. I it automatically fell into the role of a technical artist because I view it pretty much as the intersection between programming and 3D art or art in general, because you have to have knowledge of both areas basically to be a real efficient technical artist, because you need to know the 3D modeling pipelines, you need to know what 3D artists are doing to create good tools for them, and you also need to be a good programmer basically, because you have to work with shaders, you have to work with rendering pipelines, you have to work sometimes in basic system architecture. And so the direction of technical artist felt like predestined for me, because I was like with 3D and programming skill sets in my backpack.
It was literally perfect for you. You were born to do this. At least
I have
the
no
way you
choice.
have. Yeah, you were like, I'm good at this and this. Might as well do it. Why not?
Yeah,
But
that's it.
that's
Yeah.
awesome. And then after you graduated, what was it like? Was there a period of like, I don't have a job, or you had a job right away, or was there any
No.
dark times? You were like, I'm not
No.
sure if I'm doing the right thing.
No, that was quite different. I kind of started a business when I was like in second semester, and which was basically just me freelancing. So I'm not like some startup guy, but I
You're
started
the,
freelancing
Elon
basically.
Musk.
Yeah, and just to earn a little money while studying on the side. But it pretty much took off immediately with just a 3D modeling, visualization, and animations, stuff like that, product visualization in the beginning. And like 1 or 2 years later, I was mostly full-time working and doing university only on the side whenever I had time to take an exam or something like that. And I did lots of freelance with different companies, and more gaming stuff, because at the beginning it was just product visualization from different industries and not very much gaming related. But the demand was growing, and then after some time, a few years later, one of the companies I was regularly doing work with and contract work with them, they by coincidence discovered that I'm also a programmer besides to doing their 3D assets, and they talked me into starting working for them, like a fixed position for 20 hours a week, I think it was at the beginning.
Okay.
And over the next years, I still wanted to do some freelancing on the side, and I still do to this day. Also, it's gotten a bit less because I now work full time and I don't have that much time to work in the evening and weekends.
Dang, a whole day every day.
So
hey,
from that point on, I slowly transitioned into a full-time job, and I also switched company last year, and I'm pretty happy with how that worked out.
Awesome.
I can't complain.
Was starting the business like hard, or you were just like, hey, here's my license, so that way I don't get like, sued or screwed over, and then I could do work for you, and people are like, do my work? Was it as simple as that?
Yeah. So starting a business is not simple because I'm in Austria and there is a lot of bureaucracy, as you can imagine.
There is, though, yeah.
So lots of forms to fill in and then waiting to get some, note or letter from you're allowed to do that and stuff like that. But putting that aside, it was pretty easy. I only started the business because I already had like one contract work lined up, one client who wanted me to do stuff, and to have some legal grounds for that, I actually started the business. And since I was just doing it as a side job during university, where I didn't need the money that urgent to live, I didn't put a lot of effort into, marketing, advertising, and trying to get contract work. And this pretty much came by itself from knowing a lot of people from the communities I joined. So the Blender and later the GameDev communities, most of my clients I have met there or on some events, talks, or conferences I attended. And only like a very little percentage found me because of my, I don't know, homepage or Twitter profile or something else.
Remember those times, those events?
Yeah.
Good times.
Back then.
Meeting people in person.
So that's like advice from back in the day.
That's so weird.
Or in the distant
we
future.
used to go out.
When I was young,
Yeah.
Kids couldn't start that way nowadays. It wouldn't work.
I like meet each other on TikTok.
Yeah.
But no, actually,
there's probably a niche there for programmers. Like 5 or 6 channels that talk about programming on TikTok.
It's possible,
really?
Yeah.
I didn't notice.
I mean, there are blacksmiths there. I do
There's
follow a few.
there,
I'm using TikTok, sorry.
Okay. So no
I feel bad.
No, I think everybody uses it now. Even Gordon Ramsay uses it, and that's like what?
Yes. His videos are
actually, like, I thought it was
either
fake
weird or good. Depends on the video.
It just comes off to me as super fake. Like, he's doing it so hard. He's like, no. I'm like, all right.
He's only on TikTok because of his daughter, I think.
Yeah, but he's usually like angry, and even though that's like more out there, like he's not usually that. Like it's a show, but no, like this is just like, it's just weird. I don't know. I mean, I get it. Some of it's funny, but like it's just like, why are you doing that? And like, no, my God. I'm like, all right, bro. Like, all right, whatever. It's weird. I don't know. Something about it. You gotta watch it. I'll send it to you later. It's just, you'll see what I mean. But like,
check it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. There was this video of a guy putting Nutella on filet mignon. So
that's what he does. He finds those videos and like,
I saw his video.
Yeah, it's like, one guy like it's interesting. But back to what we were talking about. Businesses. Okay, so
businesses, yes.
Yeah. It actually is it's very complicated making a business. But I think it's important for a lot of game developers to at least like start with freelancing or something, because you're gonna have to eventually, whether you're working for a company or you want to start your own indie studio, you kind of have to understand the legal stuff, marketing, because if you want to really put yourself out there, whether it's your work, your own business, or even just yourself, like you have to market yourself. You have to be like, hey, this is who I am.
Yeah.
This is my great work. So, what are some things you learned while it's like starting your business, or like what things you learned?
So there's a lot of stuff most programmers or artists aren't really aware of because they're not business people. But you need the business people. You need to be a business person even if you're just freelancing, because even if you don't need the marketing because you're a kick-ass artist and everybody follows your Twitter account, just as an example, you can easily get screwed over with your first few contracts by setting up a bad contract and losing money, or I don't know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
You have to do, your taxes and all that stuff correct, or you get fines, which are really...
Sounds like personal experience.
You can get paid on Bitcoin, then you can pretend there are no taxes.
No, I was lucky. I really had very nice first clients, and
good,
only when I looked through my first contract years later, I was thinking, oh my God, what was I thinking? Because that's stuff you learn by doing. And other times I got away without too much pain, so to say. I was like delivering artworks for a client, and then he just disappeared, and I realized Yeah.
He vanished from the earth?
No,
Like, as
it
in, like,
was,
you couldn't contact him? He.
yeah, basically. And it was
Uh,
like before he signed the contract.
oh
Like,
no! But you already
could you
did the work?
provide me with a pre-visualization of that? Because I don't think you can do it. And I sent him like the nicest illustration and he was gone. And then I realized, oh my God, I'm so stupid. He now got the great illustration. And from that point on, I started adding watermarks to the stuff I sent for preview.
Smart, yeah.
I set up a contract. It has to be signed at the beginning before I do like the first bit of work. And
Yeah.
stuff like this I had to learn by doing. And
That's pretty much
yeah,
how it is. I think the
that's
hard part though is getting to that like point if you're doing it now. Like for instance, like say take a book,
yeah.
writing it cool, you learn as you're writing it, but like how do we start? That's so for business, what would you tell people how to start? Even though it seems as simple as like, hey, I want to well it can't I guess if you break it down it can be simple, but the process is not. But you basically come up with an idea, like hey, I want to make a game studio or be a freelance artist,
Yeah.
and then you go get the license for that, come up with your name, your brand, and then technically after you pay all that stuff, get the lawyer, get the stuff, you essentially have your business, and now you can do your work through that business entity, and that's pretty much there you are. Like it's as simple as it seems. Because like before, I always thought it was like, oh my god, you got to be like it's some magic. You got to like know
Yeah.
people and then get like no, bro. You just go online, pay the thing, wait a couple days, who you go, you got a business. So, what would you tell people who just like feel like things are just harder than they seem, or like I don't know where to start, or like why,
Yeah.
like you know what I mean? Like when people don't have enough experience, it's just like it just seems impossible. Everything just seems for those people who know it, even though you're gonna eventually know it. What would you say?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
So like I've been there myself.
Yeah.
I think everybody knows that. And there is like this hard lesson I had to learn, which is there is never going to be the perfect moment to do something. So you just gotta take it in your hands and start doing it, whatever you desire. And especially in the case of starting a business, I think the most helpful thing I can think of and give as an advice is to outsource all the stuff you really despise doing or don't know how to do. So for example, I really don't want to take care of my taxes. So one time a year, I pay like a tax advisor to do that stuff for me. And in the end, it nets me, of course, a profit because I don't have the taxes. I don't have to do the taxes myself. I'm not liable if there is like a gross error or a bad error
Oh,
in
that's good. The
my tax
person who did it
planning.
is liable.
Yes, that's why I pay
That's
them.
awesome. Yeah,
They're
yeah,
like,
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
they're
but how
experts.
does it work in Austria? Because here you can actually deduct from the taxes the amount you're paying to your tax advisor. So like
That's the
there's
same in
no
Austria.
reason not to do it.
Yeah, you actually,
It's literally
it's a
free.
win-win situation.
Wow. Yeah. There you go. See, you didn't. I didn't know that. So now you learn
You
these
learned
things. You
something
realize,
today.
hey, yeah, it's actually using new thing. You get someone to do it, and it's essentially free. Now you know. But yeah. So everybody do your taxes. It's actually easy thing. Just pay someone to do it, and they'll pay you back. If it's in your, I don't know about the United States. I'll have to figure that out. But
It
yeah,
might be an Europe thing. I don't know.
possibly could be. The U.S.
And
likes
if
to
you need
charge
to
you.
open a company to work freelance in Europe, Estonian e-residency. It works.
Yeah,
And it takes
I've
like
heard
30
about
days
that
and you
one.
have a company.
There you go.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Do you have to
I'm doing
come?
that right now, actually.
Hey, is it
Right in
like
this moment.
right this moment? He's doing it right now. Now the lawyer
Starting
stuff,
a
is that
company.
like complicated? Like, do you pay for a lawyer for your business, or like is that easy? I don't know, because here in Florida it was a little easy. They have like this whole thing: you pay someone and you're set. But is it easy like over there?
Well, you gotta choose your lawyer and tax advisor
Yeah,
wisely. So
that's
this is
true.
the
Yeah.
point where it's really good to have some connections and contacts or friends you can ask, hey, you're doing that stuff, or you know that guy who started a company or who started doing freelance, and do you know any lawyer or tax advisor he or she or they can recommend?
Yeah.
And this really helped me in the beginning. I was in the lucky position that a good friend of mine was working at a tax advisor firm, and so this was a no-brainer to choose them for
Simple. Look at that.
my stuff. And so this just fell in place and it worked out. And it's really great to wake up and not have to worry about,
your
some
business
fines
taxes,
from the
things,
state
yeah.
because you made an error during your last tax report or stuff like that.
Yeah, and you mentioned a good point, like talking to other people who are doing the same thing, because some tax exemptions can be related to a specific area. So like asking for people who already work with whatever you're doing can help there as well. You can get some extra money in your pocket there.
Yeah, and then forums, Discords are the best too to just ask. Like, hey, has anybody made a business doing game development? What was your process like? Can you give me advice? Anybody's good. Like, again, meet people. Everybody's friendly. Everybody wants to help each other. Everybody has different resources they can provide. Like, just it's okay.
Yeah.
Everybody's gonna be caring and warm and welcome.
Yeah.
I'll add a mostly before the everybody, because there's always that one guy.
Yeah.
But you can ignore them. There is the.
I have noticed that, like, at least in communities, not all whole world, but like in communities, there's a lot of moderators that keep those people out of those areas. They try to.
True.
You never know. They sneak in and.
Yeah. And for when you're making something, I think the community tends to be a little bit better. Like for gaming, people tend to be pretty mad all the time.
Oh yeah, it's Call of Duty lobbies everywhere. The MW2 days.
Yes.
Yeah. It's rough. It's rough world. So now let's get into what have projects you've been recently working on and we've been up to.
Yeah. So during my last job and a bit of now in my current one, there's a lot of focus on augmented reality. So that's some of the stuff I've been working with. And the more I was working with augmented reality, the more I wanted to just do simple pixel art 2D games in my free time, as you know, like because I like the contrast.
Yes.
But because I always came back to the 3D stuff, I ended up with 3D or augmented reality, and currently a virtual reality project. So I'm working with some friends who have a film production studio on a virtual reality music video experience, kind of that. So we got permission from, or actually it was like a contract from an award-winning Austrian band. And for one of their last hit songs, we are creating a virtual reality music video or experience. We're like in the orbit of space, and you're like slowly floating through that ship, and then you go outside and you see you're above the Earth and with this huge scale, and there is waste and trash and stuff like that everywhere flying around you, because it's like some environmental issues they're trying to
there's so much trash up there,
bring into the spotlight, and so they're using that for that. Yes.
So it's like you said music, right? So is it like a kind of concert type of thing, or it's like you get to go through space and experience like what's really happening out there with music?
Exactly. So the music, the song, it is one song, and this is playing during the whole experience. And of course, it's the sound is interacting with you. So there are a lot of different devices. So this is like about electronic waste in the first place. So there are old TVs and iPhones and smartphones and tablets and stuff like that floating around you, which are broken and trash, and all of the displays still somehow work around you and play the song, and you can actually listen to the different tracks of the song from the different devices coming around you with the VR surround sound feature and all that stuff. And it's great, and I'm currently working on that, and I hope we get it out soon. We're first going to present it at some film festivals, because my partners are from the film space, and that's the usual way to do it with them. Yeah. And then I want to release them on the Oculus store, because we're usually currently targeting the Quest mainly, because it's like the most common headset around.
Yeah, is that the one where it doesn't have wires? It's just like wireless. You can
Yes,
go anywhere.
exactly. And they
That's
recently
so
released
cool.
the second version, which is even better.
It's insane. Like you're finally able to now do it anywhere. You can
Yes.
put it at the commercial even has you like in the bathtub, outside, other places. Ah man, VR is gonna be so cool when it's like not that huge headset and it's like some kind of goggle thing. Ready Player One. I want Ready Player One. I want like the Oasis. I want that.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think Fortnite is
Everybody
like
does,
getting
right?
there. It's gonna
Yes.
be there.
I
There
guess
are a
they're the
few
first ones.
design things that need to be improved, I guess, like game design, like how to make a proper game for a certain type. Because like we kind of know how to make 3D games. Well, ideally.
We kind of.
Ideally,
Like,
yeah.
I feel like some people have mastered it. Like,
Yeah, but like even companies that are supposed to have mastered that kind of make things like Warcraft 3 Reforged. So
Yeah.
you never know.
yeah, like Cyberpunk. No, but like a lot of the PlayStation companies like Insomniac or Santa Monica make pretty great games.
Yeah, but I mean, in terms of design, I think it's pretty good. Like in terms of quality of like story or like the idea is kind of meh.
Like VR
Then
games?
okay, they make like normal games. Like people make those kinds of mistakes with VR. Like people have no idea how to make certain things like work properly
Yeah.
in terms of like the gameplay actually be fluid.
Have you played the Skyrim
quite
VR?
there. No, I
Which one?
never played anything
Skyrim.
other than Resident
Not
Evil
yet,
4,
no.
6
I
on
heard
VR.
it's great.
So they added the where you can actually move around because before it was like point and click to like move, and I was like, this is horrible. So I thought it was the greatest thing ever, and I think if we can improve VR, like nobody would want to go back. But you can remember how the game was like you're stuck like this, like shield and whatever. When you're playing, you can move your arms anywhere. So you can have like a shield here blocking like a dragon on fire, and then like throwing fireballs at someone over here. It was the coolest thing ever. I was like, this is dope. I love VR.
Nice.
I don't.
We need a Harry Potter game like that. Just saying.
Well, they are making a new Harry Potter game, but I don't think it's VR.
It's
But
not
they should.
VR.
They should. Maybe you can work
following
on
it. I'm so going
So
to
go.
play it.
Me too, yeah. It's action role-playing game. This sounds great.
And it's Harry Potter. Like, how can you say no to that?
Yes.
So, what was it like working at a actual like with a team and not like freelancing?
So, well, we used Unity. So you guess, I know how working in a team with Unity is, if there's a lot of programming, guys.
Yeah, there's
But
a lot of source control.
Yeah,
A lot of
exactly.
fun
So
times.
like
At least better than
with
Unreal.
scenes and
Fight you.
prefets, it has gotten way better. So actually for this project, we tried the Unity collab feature for the first time, and it really has worked great so far. We only had like one merge conflict which we had to resolve, and all the other stuff like prefab changes where two people were working on the same prefab at the same time, this worked pretty much flawlessly, and I was very surprised by that. But it was also in a pretty small scale, so there are like only 3 guys which were working on the Unity
Oh,
scene.
that's good. Yeah, could you imagine like 100? And you're like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
It's a learning
to
though.
work
You
a bit
learn how to
different.
work with small team. You can then work with a bigger team and bigger team because that can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
That's another thing too. Source control. You have to learn that too.
Yeah, we also did
Yeah.
that in with bigger teams, like 15 people working on the same project, and you really have to introduce some processes to make sure not everything turns into a complete mess, which is unsolvable by some point. So I heard that story about one studio who I don't know if it was Unity, so I don't want to bad name anyone here, but they basically do not have to lock some levels. They had in the middle of their development studio a big desk with some plushies on it, so different animals, and every one of these was like symbolized one level of their game, and when you were working on that level, you took that plushie to your desk, and when somebody else wanted to change something on that exact level and went to the desk in the middle and didn't find the plushie there, they knew they're not allowed to currently edit that level until the other guy
That's
was
genius.
finished and brought it back. I really laughed.
Yeah.
There's all the technical solutions and startups and version control systems and Git and whatever, and then this is the solution they went with.
I mean, it could be worse.
Yeah, right. Just make sure they return it, right? Don't take it home.
It could be just not used at all, like no version control.
That's like locked forever 11.
I'd be scared. The whole game without version control. You mess.
If you're doing it by yourself, it's already bad enough.
Yeah. But like even then, like you get those moments where like Unreal or Unity crashes for some reason, and then like it just doesn't work. Yeah. And then you're like, oh, let me just roll back, and it works. You're like, I don't know what I did, but good thing I got version control. That's another rough thing. But that's an interesting. Like, when did you learn source control? Was it during like school, or is it just like programming? You're like, I'm gonna do this at the same time.
So the first time I came in contact with source control was back when I wasn't even really in touch with programming again. It was with Blender, because all the newest features you could get from checking out the latest branch and compiling yourself, and they were using SVN for that. So I learned how to check out and basically update SVN long before I've used any version control system for my own programming tasks. And I really love branches from Git. So a lot of my development is, of course, in local branches and just trying stuff without having the fear of messing up your current working code base. This is like a godsend.
Yeah. Well, you had a good start. Like you did find out about version control. Sadly, it was with SVN though.
Yeah, I saw that face, Ricardo. I was like, what?
Could be worse.
Yeah,
could be better as well.
Using Mercurial, if I remember correctly.
Oh man.
So.
But yeah, because that doesn't really get mentioned a lot. Like, unless you're on a team, it's like, hey, we're doing version control. But when I ask people, like, learning this stuff, it doesn't really get brought up. But I think people miss it a lot. Like, even on a forum, when I go check stuff, nobody really posts, like, hey, I understood, GitHub. I understand source control. I understand this. I understand that. No, it's like, I don't get it. I'm like, oh. Because source tree makes it easy, but there's other ones, like Preforce. That's like, I open it up, and I'm like...
Command line. Come on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Command line.
Use the command line, yeah.
You install source tree and then click on the terminal icon to open the terminal inside source tree all the time. And then you get the best of both worlds.
There you go. But
I mean, that's one of the things that actually drew me to the course, the Unreal course, because all courses I saw with Ben, like he does source control from day one. He has like, oh, let's make a branch here. Let's commit our changes at the end of the lecture and so on. So even though it's used more like to track down the lecture, and I'm pretty sure he uses when planning the course as well, like to test out changes. It's still like teaching you to source control.
At least he puts it there so you know it. You're like, okay.
And I think it's one of the skills which are easily overlooked, but very important when looking for a job in the industry. Because
you're like, that source control, and you're like, huh? Yeah. Oh yeah, source tree, and it's like, no, advanced. And you're like,
yeah,
no. Teach me the command line. But yeah, it's interesting. There's a lot of stuff like that where it's just like you didn't know you needed it until you put yourself out there to get a job. Yeah. It's like, have you ever had moments where you like didn't know something and then learned it because you went to an interview, or were you always just like employed after the college?
No, I was lucky to basically get employed even before that while being in college. And no, I definitely looked into stuff because of like job requirements, but this was mostly like for my current job where I'm doing render engine programming. I brushed up on my Vulkan skills before like entering the first few meetings with them and the I don't know how to call it, the tests, programming tests, basically.
Yeah.
But aside from that, most of the stuff I learned while doing. So version control system I knew beforehand and learned it myself. But stuff like agile development with Scrum, that's some of the stuff you pick up you can pick up in a junior job. You should know the basics, but you don't know to need the ins and outs of being a Scrum Master.
That's a
And
good one.
this
Yeah.
is also very important for programming jobs.
That's
So I
another
don't
one.
think
Yeah.
there is anyone nowadays which doesn't have the requirement of knowing the Scrum process and version control systems.
Mhm.
And this is also all of the nearly hard skills you need next to the actual programming languages, frameworks, whatever are the requirements for the job you're applying for.
Yeah, and another important skill is like being a nice person, being good to work
That's
with.
the most
It's
important skill.
Yeah,
Definitely, yeah.
again, I can teach you anything, but I cannot teach you to be nice. Well,
Yes.
sometimes I can, but
You could try. Yeah. At least that's what all the cartoons showed me when I was younger.
I couldn't
yeah.
agree more.
Well, I can teach you astrophysics, and teaching you to be nice is way harder.
Oh, that's funny. But for anybody who maybe doesn't know Scrum, where would you send them to like learn about it? Just
So
straight up Google search?
yeah, that's what I do basically if I need to brush up my skills on something or haven't heard the term before. So for Scrum especially, there are some very good resources you can find by Googling which explain the basic concepts.
Mm-hmm.
And other than that, there are, I guess, a lot of courses which go into the details because, as I said, Scrum Master is own job in itself. So you can easily find a lot of resources for that. And I don't even know, is there on GameDev.tv a course about Scrum? I
No,
haven't looked that up.
no.
Then
I'm gonna have to talk to
probably
you.
a good
I'm
idea
gonna-
To be
to
fair,
pitch that to someone.
like, yeah, and the skill translates from any industry as well. Like, you can find good Scrum courses probably on Udemy and any other platform, and probably even on YouTube.
That's
Oh,
true.
that's
YouTube
again,
does have a
like-
lot of good like
Yeah,
tutorial dumps. Just
I
don't. I
usually
wouldn't.
forget about YouTube.
Yeah, you're right. Right. What is YouTube? Right. The knowledge of the
No, when looking
the
for
new
tutorials,
university.
of course.
Yeah. But yeah, and then like, how would so it's just basically like a way of working, right? Like you don't need to do a whole like certification, or would you be like, I am Scrum certified, or it's just like you know.
Yeah, I think certifications certainly help.
Mhm.
I haven't really got any of the big and expensive certifications myself because from my experience when looking for a job, it's probably equal to have a certification in a certain language framework or skill set and having like a blog with own tutorials, so where you explain some detailed issues about the topic and or stuff like that. Those I think are pretty much equal to most of the employers I have encountered. So they just want to know that you have spent time and thought about and have basic knowledge in that areas. Except if you're applying as a Scrum Master, then I guess they expect more than the basic knowledge in that area.
Yeah, they're like, you need to know all of it, so you can teach
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Cool.
yeah, but that's one good thing about Scrum. Like, you don't need to be super versed in it. Like, if you know how it works, you can just get in a team, and
Yes.
you will be able to follow, and then you'll learn more as you go.
Okay.
Yes.
Nice.
And most of the companies I've worked with, they all have a slightly different way, their own way of doing the Scrum process. So
Yes.
you're most likely, you have to adapt anyway.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's pretty
So
dangerous as
basically-
well.
What I'm hearing is learn the fundamentals of anything, and then as you go through anything, jobs or learning or whatever, then you adapt to what you need for that moment. Don't try to
Yes.
learn it all and think, hey, I'm the master Scrum. It's like, yeah, you were a year ago, but now we've changed things, or this company does it differently. And it's like, oh, but I spent all my time. It's like, again,
Yeah.
when you're ready, what you said earlier before, what did you, like you said, when you're ready, I forgot how exactly you said it. I don't want to butcher it, but you'll know when you're ready, essentially.
Yes.
Cool. So we've basically made it to the end. So usually at the end, I do a little challenge, like the same as the lectures. So come up with a little challenge for the GameDev.tv students, community. It could be about anything, art, programming, business, anything related to game development.
A little challenge. Okay, give me a
Yeah.
bit of time to think.
No problem.
So it can be from any area of
Yes.
of game development?
Try to avoid fitness challenges. Yeah.
So the challenge I would give to the listeners to this podcast is go and watch or read a tutorial of an area you're not proficient in and you haven't thought about learning some knowledge or picking up some knowledge from.
I like that, yeah, because it just pushes you outside your comfort zone and makes you see it in another way. You might even see some kind of things that are a little bit similar, and you're like, oh.
It broadens your horizon, and that's always a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or you just find something you like even more and like find
maybe it changes your life. Maybe you're about to change everyone's life today. Yeah. You never know.
You never know.
But yeah, so thank you for coming on, Phil. This has been amazing. It was a lot of fun. Learned a lot.
Thank you for inviting me. It was a pleasure.
Yes. And so usually we end it off by handing you the mic. So if you want to do any last minute shout outs, inspirational quotes, whatever you want to do to end it off. And thank you for coming on again. And the mic's all yours.
Yeah, thanks a lot for inviting me. It was great fun. Cheers and shout outs to all my peeps from Graz, to my company ReactiveReality, and to every aspiring game dev. I believe you can do it, and search for others online and show me your stuff and progress. I'm very interested in playing all your games.
Well, that's it. Thanks for listening. You can find all courses at GameDev.tv or in the show notes at a discounted price. Get started with your game development journey today.